And that leads us into, having your software hosted by somebody else. Now, just like an appliance, there's pros and cons to that as well. And so kind of the benefits of hosting in-house is, using your software in-house is you got total control over the software that you don't have with a hosted solution. By hosted, that's a third party out there. Normally software as a service is over the internet versus, the software living at your business. So we know that your processes, things at the office on the server there is going to live there. You don't have to worry about a third party there. You have to worry about a third party handling your data. Only authorized people can access your data or should be able to access your data, and probably less costly over the long term. I don't know. I've been looking at the numbers, but I think as a rule of thumb, that if you're going to be married to a particular application for more than a couple years or so, it makes sense to buy rather than to lease. And that's what you're doing, or renting software. The downside is, just like versus what we talked about with an appliance, the more software packages you install and load up on a server or on your network, the more difficult it is to administer, maintain, patch, keep up to date. Again, you need the IT personnel. It's kind of the same reasoning that we gave before. The very same reasoning why software has a downside is, multiple packages. Takes IT people kind of know what they're doing. That do need to know what they're doing. And if you don't have such a person, you got to pay a consultant, sometimes some big bucks, to fix it and keep it going. There are some real benefits to hosted software. In fact, we're going to be offering the Microsoft Online solution to our clients too, because I think there is a definite fit out there for this stuff. And here's some of the benefits, and that, basically a hosted service provider can achieve economies of scale that companies that might be growing quickly but have not a whole lot of money can maintain. So that's number one. The companies that are hosting the data typically have data centers that are really secure. Your data is being backed up, and there's that's what they do for a living. So I don't think that's too much of a problem. They can reduce your compliancy costs, and by that I mean when you're trying to adhere to things like HIPAA, Sarbanes-Oxley, all that. For just a nominal fee every month, they can archive your email and make sure that you're meeting a lot of these different things. And of course, when you have a busy server, maybe handling a lot of stuff, you can get a lot of network traffic. You can get a ton of network traffic when you're hosting your own software and it's a client-server kind of thing versus over the internet. Now, the downshot to hosted software is loss of control over the infrastructure because somebody else is handling that for you. All the data that you got is going to be in the hands of a third party. All right? You don't know who might be looking at your data, your financial data, whatever, at the hosting company doing the hosting. You want to assume that only authorized personnel would be the only ones that can touch that, only for the purposes of backup or what have you. You can't do these things super quickly. If you make up your mind, okay, this next half an hour I want to add a new type of blacklisting service. Well, that's just not going to happen instantly with a third party. You're kind of locked in. Your data is kind of locked into this proprietary format that the hosting companies got. Now, if they were to go out of business or decide that for whatever reason they could not work with you anymore, hopefully they'll send your data to you on a DVD or something like that, but it might be in a format you couldn't possibly access. It's just a matter of fact. That is a real possibility that it could happen. Don't say it, not saying it will, but that is something to keep in your mind. Okay, if you've got Like if you're using a CRM application that's hosted somewhere and there's some difficulties there and you want to cancel and host yourself, and say, okay, give us our data. Well, here comes a DVD in some format that you might not be able to get the data out of. I'm using that as an extreme example, but I think you get the point on this. I really hope you do. And then finally, just as I said before, the long-term cost could far out exceed the cost of if you just bought the software. And not to run the risk of sounding like a broken record, but I just can't make it plain enough. It's my opinion that if you're going to use QuickBooks for more than a couple years, if you're going to use Microsoft CRM for more than a couple years, if you're going to use that application year in and year out, don't rent it, buy it. There's software leasing out there as well. There's alternatives to renting the software. It's great to rent it as a service to see how well it's going to do for you, but I really recommend that on certain applications you might be better off buying the software, paying a consultant to configure it for you and maintain it for you. That investment may pay for itself over and over again. Gosh, the evening is going by